So, we just bought our very first house in DFW, and it was not the picture-perfect process you thought it might be. So, wanted to walk through in this video what we got right, what we got wrong, and ultimately how we found the one. So let's start with what we thought we wanted. So ideally, we were looking in Frisco, West Plano, Carrollton. We wanted to stay between 400 and 500,000, 3-bed, 2-bath, maybe around 1,800 square feet. And we were open to doing some projects, but we definitely did not want a full gut job. And my boyfriend Pierce works in Irving, so we wanted the commute to be under 30 minutes. And then I'm all over the Metroplex, so being near a highway was super important to me, so I could scoot everywhere around the Metroplex. And obviously, we also wanted to be in a safe neighborhood where we felt very comfy and cozy and we could walk our dog whenever. And spoiler alert, we actually did not buy a house in any of those areas. And I'll tell you why. So West Plano had all the charm, but the homes were more expensive for the location and they needed a whole lot more work. Frisco was amazing, but it just added 20 plus minutes to Pierce's commute, and for us, it just didn't feel worth it. And then Carrollton, classic Carrollton, it was either a hit or miss. I mean, it was either great house, not so great neighborhood, or not so great house in a great neighborhood. So we just never seemed to find the perfect in between. So we scrapped Carrollton pretty early on in our process. So drum roll, we ended up in the Colony, which is actually where we were to begin with. We were renting a townhouse, and so the transition was super easy because we ended up being maybe 5 minutes away from where we originally were. But we loved this location. It was close to the highway. We could access all the places that we loved in West Plano and Frisco, and Pierce had a commute time of under 30 minutes here. My biggest hesitation with the Colony, transparently, was the schools. I'm a realtor, so I know how much school ratings play into the value of a property. So my biggest hesitation was, oh my gosh, location's great, house is great, but the schools are not rated as well. But we talked about it a lot. I actually talked to a lot of my work colleagues as well, just to kind of get their opinions. And ultimately, we decided that Pierce and I are not ready to have kids anytime soon. So we really weren't buying for us to have kids. And we felt like the location and everything else trumped the school. So we just figured, for us, I think this makes sense and we will overlook the poor school ratings. And for context, we searched for about 3 to 4 months. I mean, obviously, I'm a realtor. I'm seeing homes all the time. So it was interesting just bringing my boyfriend through this process, though, because he really was a first-time home buyer. And I am too, but it just felt differently because I've done this process so much.
She's the realtor, so she goes through these processes all the time. Me being a first-time home buyer myself through this process, it can get a little discouraging searching for so long, which is why she harps on it, and it's true. You guys need to get a pre-approval so that you guys can know what price that you can actually look for.
So it was really fun educating him on areas, what's great about this one, what's not so great about this one, how resale value could impact our bottom dollar at the end of the day. So it was very educational and he definitely learned a lot. But we did search for quite a while, and there were definitely points in the search where both of us were like, man, are we just gonna rent for another year? Or what should we do? We're really not finding anything. And we totally felt defeated. But that's when we really started to open up our search and explore areas that were originally not on our list. So the Colony happened to be one of those areas. We loved the location. We were just so hell-bent on being in West Plano or Frisco. But then once we opened up the parameters, we found this house. And it just checked all of our boxes. And as soon as we saw it, we just knew. We had that feeling oh my gosh, we feel like we're supposed to be here. But the trick with this one was it was actually a little over our budget. So the story goes, it was really early on the market. I mean, maybe 4 days on the market when we had seen it. And the price was higher than what we expected. So what we did is we knew that other people were looking. They had a lot of interest. So I told Pierce, I was like, look, we've got to go in at asking price because they've just got so much interest. This is not going to last very long. So we offered full list price, but we asked for a seller concession to buy down our rate. Because at the end of the day, for us, the closing cost, we had done a lot of savings, so we felt comfortable with the closing cost. It was just the monthly payment with the rates. It just felt so high to us And so if there was a way that we could get that monthly payment down, then we felt good about it. And I'll tell you guys, it was very helpful to have a realtor. And yes, I did not totally represent myself on this one. I could tell very early on that I was so emotional about this and logic was starting to go out the window. And so I actually had one of my colleagues help us and represent us on the purchase, because I knew I was getting emotional. And if I'm emotional about something, I'm not gonna negotiate as hard as I normally am. So she helped me negotiate. She told me when to stop being emotional and just, Brielle, you've gotta try for this and you've gotta really fight hard and put your foot down. And so I'll tell you, it was amazing having a realtor represent us and, have the harder conversations, especially when we were so in love with the house and we were so emotional about it. So we went back and forth with the sellers to negotiate a price and a buy down that worked for us, and ultimately we locked her down.
It's a beautiful home. It's in the area that we absolutely love. It has literally every single amenity that we can think of.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So we were like, it's gonna be advantageous for us to get this house, because even if we resell it in 5-6 years, or if we use it as a rental and we have our first rental, either way, it's going to be so good for us. So we factored in all of those things to make sure that this was the right place for us.
So of course, once we went under contract, we entered our inspection period, which is about 7 days. So once we were in the inspection period, we got all of our inspections. I knew a ton of people in the industry, so of course I had like every inspection done possible. The general inspection went really well. A couple fogged windows, some electrical cords that nobody really knew where they went. So very minor stuff. And he said the roof looks great, the foundation looks great. But I had just seen too many things. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a foundation inspection regardless. And I'll tell you, the girl on my team who's a realtor, she was the one who encouraged me to do that. So again, when you're in this process, you're thinking emotionally. And so it is really, really valuable to have someone who is thinking straight, done this a million times, to tell you, no, it's worth it. Just do it. And so I did it. And the foundation guy came back and said, hey, Brielle, you've got about $6,000 worth of foundation work that you need done on this house. So ultimately, we were shocked. We were so heartbroken. But I talked to a lot of different people, and I talked to this foundation company specifically, and I was like, look, what can we do? This is awful. We went back and we tried to get the seller to repair the foundation. That did not go very well. So Pierce and I, after a lot of conversation, we were like, you know what? We're okay with it because it's so minor. And $6,000 I know sounds like a lot, but it really was just one corner of the house. He was like, you probably could do less. You may not need like as big of a project done. So what we did is we ended up taking that quote that the company gave us to the seller, and we said, hey, look, we are willing to take this on after closing, but you have to give us a credit for it. So again, we went back and forth with the seller, painful conversations, but we ended up locking in an additional seller credit to cover the foundation work needed, and the seller agreed to a couple of the minor repairs that we asked for. So we thought finally after the inspection, we were in the clear, we felt good, we were like, oh my gosh, the inspection went great, this is meant to be. And then the appraisal came back, $3,000 under the purchase price. And what that means is essentially after the appraisal comes back, if it's lower than what the contract price says, the lender says, hey, the house is actually worth this much, not what you contracted for. So our loan is only going to cover what it appraised for, right? And so that essentially means that somebody's got to bring the difference to the table. So for us, that was a difference of $3,000. We had it. We didn't want to do that.
I thought during that, whenever we have the negotiation of, okay, what can we do? The seller needs to bring the price down to the appraised value, so on and so forth. I thought that she can back out and that their seller's agent could be like, look, if this is not gonna work, then we gotta back out of this deal. I thought they could do whatever they wanted. I didn't know that we had the power in that situation where no matter what, you guys can back out as the buyer.
He is saying that the buyer has the leverage, quote unquote, and so we definitely used that leverage to negotiate the repair. So again, we went back and forth with the seller and said, hey, look, you've got to cover this $3,000 because clearly you priced it wrong. Now, this is fairly typical when a home is more renovated. Like this home was more renovated. So, when an agent will get a property like this, they may price it a little bit higher. So we ended up negotiating the seller to pay for the $3,000. We really went back and forth on this. And at the end of the day, Pierce and I were like, look, we'll take the $3,000, we'll pay it, like whatever. But again, having my realtor friend represent us, she was like, absolutely not. We are not going to do this. You're emotional. kindly shut up and let me negotiate this. And that's exactly what she did. So again, it's just so nice having somebody who is not emotional represent you, because I mean, I negotiate for my clients all the time, but I knew that we were not going to lose this house over $3,000. So we were like, we'll do whatever it takes. I mean, $3,000, like, here, take it. So she really told me no, like, the seller needs to cover it. I think we've got them. Let's play hardball. And so we ended up threatening to walk out to in the contract, and the seller ended up caving, and we got the price down to what the value appraised for. So if you're buying your first house here in DFW, or if you have questions about the process, maybe you're so frustrated because you just cannot find the right thing, leave your comments down below or reach out to me. Would love to help you or just talk to you about where you're at. I love real estate. I think it's a great market to buy, especially right now when you can really negotiate these seller concessions and price and all kinds of great things. So if you have questions, if you'd like to work together to buy your first house, I would love to help you. And if not, I will see you guys on the next video. I've got furniture to buy and decorating to do, so I will see you next time.
Everybody in the comment section, if you guys like seeing me on this, then I'll be on it more.